President Nana Akufo-Addo of Ghana declared on Friday that the country had raised the set Farmgate price for cocoa farmers for the second time this 2024-2025 season. Initially set at 48,000 Ghanaian cedi per metric ton at the beginning of the season on September 1, cocoa producers will now earn 49,600 cedi. Akufo-Addo also instructed COCOBOD to offer scholarships for post-secondary education to the children of farmers in order to assist farmer families. Isaac Agyei, analyst at SBM Intelligence Ghana, joins me for more on this. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good morning to you too. Well, so I don't run the risk of preempting you, I'd like you to talk to us. What do you make of this increase and the likely impact it will have on farmers' livelihood?
Well, this is actually supposed to be a thank you package from the president to the farmers, especially on the National, Farmers Day. And if you look at the magnitude of increments, which is about 3.33%, you may want to ask a very simple question if this will actually impact on farmers in terms of their livelihood. But if you ask me whether this will impact the lives of farmers, it depends on two things: where the farmer stays or the cost of living of that area that farmer stays, and then the production capacity of that farmer. Because just like you put it, from 48,000 Ghana cedis to now 49,600 Ghana cedis, that's per ton. How about farmers who are not able to produce even 500 or 50 bags a year? How do they also suffer? Because if you do the math, it's not really that significant. And so it depends on these two factors that will determine the magnitude of the impact.
So if I hear you correctly, you would have preferred something, much more than that. So what percentage will you be looking at for us to see the kind of impact you're looking at?
All right. So in terms of cocoa price increments, I usually do not like to keep farmers guessing, or regulators keeping farmers guessing. So I will always prefer a one-time increment. And we know, for using historical data, that's the 60% or between 60 to 70% for a whole season. That will actually keep farmers in check, and then actually stop them from guessing when will be the next increment and all of that. But if you begin to dish it out in smaller forms, that becomes a bit problematic. And for me, I would have wished that government would have started the season with just one-time price increments. That's just between 60 to 70%, like they always do.
All right, so if I get it correctly, this particular increase may not even have any impact on smuggling and supply stability in Ghana. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, because, once you start to dish the price in smaller margins, you keep farmers guessing. And farmers are also rational economic agents. So if they, forecast that there could be another price increment, what they will do is that they will tend to hoard their beans. And if they hoard and prices are not going up, what they will look for is the next best alternative. We're definitely looking for prices above the prevailing market rate that government is actually offering them. And that will bring about smuggling. And so for me, this is not really a good move in terms of dishing out the the prices in marginal levels or in budgets or in this form. I would have preferred that government would have just gone ahead to do a one-time increment, also not to keep farmers guessing and be asking themselves when will be the next price increment. So I actually don't really see this impacting on reducing smuggling or bringing the level of smuggling down.
All right. Now, some analysts believe this is actually political. I'm just wondering if you think the same too.
Well, it depends on the angle you look at it, because if you look at Ghana's electoral map, almost all the areas where cocoa farming or cocoa is cultivated are areas dominated by the current administration, or where the places we call the blue constituencies. These are constituencies that are predominantly blue. They vote for the new the NPP, and so and farmers are a group of people that it's actually very sometimes difficult to change their position on which political parties they should support or vote for. Definitely, you find floating voters who are also farmers, but predominantly farmers, make up their minds in terms of the political parties they belong. So in terms of the political capital that the government can actually get out of this, I simply do not know. But what this can do is that, farmers also like to hear increments. And if they play the PR gimmicks or the PR game war, this could actually get farmers out to vote for them, especially looking at the fact that the current government already controls a larger percentage of the areas that are cocoa, production areas.
Well, smuggling is clearly an issue here, if you ask me, then coupled with other sectoral woes that have sort of, brought this challenge upon this particular sector in Ghana. So talk to us. What are these other challenges, that Ghana's cocoa production is faced with, and what are your suggestions or recommendations for addressing them?
So beyond smuggling, we on News, Central, we always talk about illegal mining. For me, that's the biggest issue at the moment. And for instance, farmers were expecting that government will roll out, stringent policies or good policies to actually curb illegal mining. That's what they were actually expecting on the farmers. They possibly not that marginal increment in, the Farmgate price is good, but they were really looking forward that governments will roll out measures to curb the illegal mining, because that takes significant components of our production capacity, followed by smuggling. And so for the other factors, although this year government is really hopeful that, the weather is good, so they are definitely going to get about 650,000, metric tons by the end of the year. We've had news that some farms, somewhere around the Ashanti region, are producing more than they did last season. So definitely government is looking at that angle. But one big, some big factors that will really affect our production capacity or the beans that will be able to export will definitely be smuggling and illegal mining. For me, these are the two big tickets.
That's quite interesting, saying that we've been on this for so long. We've been talking about this for so long. It's just my hope that it will be addressed as soon as possible. Well, let's talk about the impact this is having on the global market.
Well, remember here again on News Central, we had a discussion, or we analyzed how traders, actually put a certain negative tag on Ghana, that just by trading with Ghana in the just ended season, they lost significant, amounts. They lost billions of dollars just by trading with Ghana, because Ghana actually defaulted. And so this year, if you look on the global, scale, Ghana wants to do self-financing, which means that the syndicated loan that they'll usually go and get to do the cocoa purchasing, that we might not see that this year, because they were looking for about $1.5 billion. And because we defaulted, or because Ghana defaulted in the just ended season, a lot of, high risk premium is actually being placed on the Ghanaian cocoa, not because it's not of good quality, but there's high probability that, traders say that Ghana might default again. And as a result of that, a lot of interest or high interest has been placed on loans that will be given to Ghana. And we are looking at financing this year's cocoa production from the domestic space. And then also, if you come into the domestic space, you have a situation where the bonds market is no longer existing because of the restructuring that the government did. Cocoa Board cannot go to the treasury bill market to borrow again, because they've restructured their cocoa bills, or the people who actually bought their T-bills somewhere last 2 years or last 3 years, all have been restructured, and actually places a negative tag on Cocoa Board. So I'm actually wondering how, or trying to understand how government is going to do this domestic financing. But on the global scale, Ghana doesn't really look good in terms of the capital markets going to get the needed financing assurance, or the finance to come and buy the cocoa from the domestic space. But the current module has both advantages and disadvantages. Government wants to sell and are requesting that traders pay upfront, or pay a part of the cocoa beans. That can be a good advantage for the government, because we are actually also projecting that this year prices may still rally, and if government takes this position, may actually get the best out of traders, rather than selling the cocoa in the forward sales module, where they usually would settle for a certain price and may not have any significant control on the future prices. So you can actually analyze it from different angles. But for me, on the global scale, we are not getting the financing. But traders are looking ahead that with the improved weather, Ghana could go above 500,000 metric tons.
Right, let's just come back to, inflation and currency depreciation, because for some analysts, they are saying when you adjust this marginal increase, when you adjust for inflation and currency depreciation, it's worth nothing. So talking about this inflation and currency depreciation, I'd like to get what your outlook is for it and what recommendations you have for making the numbers better.
Well, I mean, let's start with the exchange rate situation. We all know that U.S. has a new president who loves to see the dollar very strong. And so it means that emerging economies and developing economies like Ghana must be on the lookout. For us as a country, the reason why I was saying that, I mean, the decision to go local financing in terms of the cocoa production is a bit risky is that when we used to get the cocoa syndicated loan, it was a main backbone to the Ghanaian economy in terms of getting the needed forex to shore up the cedi and make the cedi stronger against major trading currencies like the dollar. Now we do not have it. Previous years would have had that money hit the account of the central bank by the end of September. We are in October and we do not have that 1.5 billion that we projected. It means that coming into the last quarter and even the first quarter of next year, it tells you that the outlook for our exchange position or our reserve is not in a good position, but because we are not getting a significant component like the $1.5 billion. That tells you that the cedi might face some difficulties in the first quarter and even looking at the dying embers of the year. And if you look at the other aspect, which is inflation, for me, I think that the Bank of Ghana was actually in a haste to cut that, the rate or to reduce the interest rate or the monetary policy rate. I felt that for a country that was enjoying single-digit inflation about 2 or 3 years ago, and we've moved from as high as 54% now to about 23 or 24%, we are still not out of the woods yet. The economy is still heated up. So I did not see why the central government had to go ahead to cut the rate. And we've seen that when they actually did that rate cut, we've seen inflation go up twice. I mean, in the last 2 months, inflation has actually been on the rise. And this month, for instance, or last month's inflation was the highest in the last 4 months. So that tells you that rate cut was very early. And one aspect that government must actually, handle really well has to do with our increasing imports bill, which this year is estimated to earn about $18 billion. We have to ask ourselves, where are we going to get $18 billion to foot that high import bill, which is expected to increase next year? And with the current Trump administration, which will probably start soon, we should expect a stronger dollar. And I mean, that government must put in place stronger policies. The central government must take its time in terms of some of its policy decisions. It is still too early to cut rates for Ghana at the moment. We must not follow what America is doing. Even America, it had investors chasing after a rate cut for almost 9 months before they did the first one. So I still feel that it is early days yet for the central government or the central bank to cut rates.
Isaac Agyei, analyst, SBM Intelligence Ghana, thank you so much for coming on the show and for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thanks for having me.